Hello, science lovers. There are 5 days, half of this, left in our Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign to raise scholarships for Spice Campers this year. And I'm making this video to remind people because it was a long weekend and I spent it all working in my yard and I didn't do any work and I didn't send any updates. So I'm doing a big one here. It's not really an update. I mean, that's the update. We're almost 50% of the way to our goal and we only have 5 days left. So we really need people to pull it together and get the word out and give as much as we can because we have a lot of girls who really need some support to come to camp. It would be really awful if someone couldn't come to camp because we didn't have enough scholarship money to give out. That would be terrible. I would hate that. So today I'm doing the top 5 questions I get when people find out about my program and want to ask me a little bit more about it. These are just not necessarily the questions I get the most often because a lot of those are logistic, but these are the ones that sort of stick in my brain that I always feel like I'm on deck that I have to answer. So the first one is reading from my computer screen. Aren't you worried about leaving boys behind? I did address this in a previous video, but let me say it in short again. No. I am not worried about leaving boys behind. I am the mother of a 12-year-old son. And I see the ways in which every single day he receives messages that tells him that he belongs in science, that he can be good at science, that science will be a fulfilling career if he chooses to go after it, that there is not a punishment for being a scientist, that he can, let his nerd flag fly all he wants and still have a really great life. Girls don't get these same messages, at least not in the same quantities. They don't get as many hands-on opportunities. They don't see women in roles as scientists. And all this little subtle environment they live in doesn't really tell them that this is a possibility. And we don't tend to think of things as possibilities when we don't get those kinds of messages. So am I worried about boys? No. Women are still grossly underrepresented in science, and that's going to be a problem for a while, and we need to work really hard to try and correct it. And I'm not worried about some sort of mythical future in which one boy may get left behind because we did stuff for girls. It's just not an issue. Not worried about it. My son, he'll be just fine, as will all the other little 12-year-old boys like him. They're going to get those messages. So what do I mean when I say that Spice is proven to work? What do I mean when we say we've researched it? Well, I mean we've researched it very rigorously. In fact, for 3 years, and we're going into our 4th year of researching the program, and what we have is a mostly randomized control trial where we were comparing girls who attend the program to girls who don't attend the program, who had applied to the program but didn't get in. We used surveys that measure interest in science, attitudes towards science, science efficacy, and science identities. And what we found is that girls who go into the SPICE program come out the other side with statistically significantly higher scores in those areas based on scales that have been validated. It is actually quality research. But we did more than that. We observed them in camp. We talked to them in individual interviews and focus groups, and we even talked to their parents. And what we find is that girls really value experiences like Spice Camp. It helps to keep them encouraged. It helps to counteract the other experiences in their life that can be pretty discouraging around science. So yes, we researched it. It works. 3. What's the big deal about identities? Shouldn't we be focusing on achievement? So when we talk about education these days, we are often talking about achievement, like are our kids doing well enough? Are they graduating with the math and science and language skills that they need? And these are really important things. But overall, looking generally, girls are kicking ass in science. They're taking more science credits in high school and getting better grades than boys as a national average, and yet they're still not choosing science. And this gets back to, again, this idea that they aren't seeing themselves in science. They aren't feeling welcomed in science. They aren't feel like they're going to be appreciated in science and that they can have fulfilling personal lives and careers in science. It doesn't look good from their perspective. So when they're choosing careers, they're making what I think is very rational decisions not to go into science based on the messaging that they're receiving. And programs like SPICE help us change that messaging, help us give them the experiences so that they can make a decision based from experience, from knowing no, I can be good at science. And I've seen women who are good at science, and I've seen that they are cool, interesting people who have cool, interesting lives. Number 4, why do you need the money? Doesn't the University of Oregon pay for this all? So SPICE is a program of the University of Oregon. It was actually started by what used to be called the Oregon Center for Optics, and now is the Optical, Molecular, and Quantum Science Center. But No, we don't have a lot of money. University of Oregon is a large institution and it's good at fundraising, and we have amazing sports teams, but we are still a public school, and there's so much going on here that it's hard to get funds. So the university can't afford to just outright pay for the entire program. They do contribute 10% of my salary to run outreach. They do provide spaces and support, and a lot of other faculty and staff and students here generously give their time to help us with these programs. But that said, we still have to buy supplies. We still have to pay the supply clerk. She loves doing it, but she needs to eat. And we have to pay the lead instructors because, I mean, they also love doing it, but they need to eat if they're going to commit their summers to preparing these activities and leading these camps. They need to get paid. And we pay them very modestly, and they are very generous with their time. But, you know, there are expenses. We keep this program very affordable. If we had to pay the full cost of it, of part of my salary to run it, to rent space to do it, and didn't get the good discounts we can get through purchasing through the university, this program would cost a lot. As it is, it's actually very affordable. It's very comparable to soccer camps and drama camps and chess clubs. Even then, we've done a really great job of reaching out to low-income kids, so they need help. And that's what this is about, is making sure that science is accessible to all girls, that it's not just to girls who have networks and resources. And last, wait, does my donation really all go to scholarships? Yes. Caveat, of course, there are fees through the crowdfunding platform, and the UO Foundation has a small fee. It's 3%. Altogether, it comes up to about 5 to 8%. Does go to fees depending on how you give and when you give. If you want to make sure that the least amount of fees go, you actually can give directly to the University of Oregon Foundation, and I'll include a link in this video about that. But giving through the Indiegogo campaign is great because it helps raise awareness. Whatever is most convenient for you is great for us. And all of the money that comes through to us, which is a lot, it's the biggest proportion of the money, does go to those scholarships. We do make sure that try and make sure that every girl can attend. So that's the top 5 questions I get asked about SPICE and fundraising. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for giving. Please share. Check out our perks on the website. They're pretty cool. And I hope you all had a great weekend and have a great continuing into summer because the weather looks amazing, at least here in Oregon. And yeah, thanks a lot.